Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Just a quick commentary. I'm going to give a well-deserved red cup to the Trump administration here in the United States. This Muslim ban is completely ridiculous. Right? You've got to treat people better than this. The United States was founded on religious freedom. We don't have a religious litmus test. Right? Let's keep the country free. If you want to comment on this, go ahead, whether you agree with me or not, and leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Let's talk about the Leo Santa Cruz Frampton fight. I was wrong on this fight. I thought Frampton was gonna win the rematch, right? In fact, I privately thought Frampton was gonna win the rematch by more than he won the first fight. Understand, even after watching the second fight, I feel that Carl Frampton has a higher ceiling. In other words, Frampton, quite frankly, has more potential, in my opinion, than Leo Santa Cruz. But make no mistake, Santa Cruz won the fight, right? Of all the things that happened that night, what determined the fight to me was the fact that Carl Frampton, simply put, was outthought, right? Leo Santa Cruz on that night had the mental edge, right? He had the strategy. For some odd reason, Carl Frampton was slow to adapt to it. Right? Frampton let several of the early rounds pass by, and he's continually getting hit in the face with a Santa Cruz jab. Now, one of the secrets of this fight is that Santa Cruz, who normally leads, is actually a switch. In other words, Santa Cruz can actually fight on his back foot. Right? Rather than throw lead punches, Santa Cruz can actually counter you. And Santa Cruz can do so behind a jab. Carl Frampton, by contrast, is really a counter puncher. He's not a lead puncher. So Carl Frampton is waiting for an opportunity to counter Leo Santa Cruz, but Santa Cruz is staying away from him behind a jab, being too far away from Frampton for Frampton to counter him. Now here's where it really gets interesting to me. We've seen fights where you've had a guy with a jab, right? With a jab, a great jab, against a guy who's a little bit shorter, who's able to smother the jab. In other words, a guy's flicking a jab at you, you've got to find a way to do something to get rid of the jab. So let's go back in history, right? Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier, the first fight. Frazier stays low. You'll notice Frazier's bobbing and weaving. Now, I hope Frampton studies that fight, because when Frampton got low, I didn't think Santa Cruz could hit him, right? But Frampton doesn't for some odd reason. Frampton spends most of the early rounds standing upright, giving the early rounds away. Look at the scorecards. Right? Those early rounds really are the margin of victory in the fight. Right? So Joe Frazier is bobbing and weaving, staying low, right? Making it hard for Ali to land his jab. And then Frazier's getting deep in the pocket, isn't he? He's backing up Ali. And Frazier isn't trying to throw headshots on Ali, right? It's not just headshots, he's throwing body shots. He's trying to chop down Ali's body from early in the fight. Another fight, Mike Tyson, lead puncher, against Larry Holmes, right? Larry's throwing a jab and Larry's dancing around Mike. Quite frankly, Larry's winning the early rounds. But Mike Tyson keeps cutting off the ring. Right? Mike Tyson's trying to collapse the pocket. You know how that fight ends. Eventually, Tyson collapses the pocket. Knocks out Larry Holmes. Now here, Frampton, because he's a counter puncher, right? He's not looking to collapse the pocket. In other words, he's outside, and here's the fight. Frampton's outside, getting hit with a jab, right? Getting hit with a jab. Now, it's really amazing to see because Frampton is actually the better fighter when they're inside, right? But Frampton, for some reason, and only the Frampton people know why, wanted a cushion between himself and Leo Santa Cruz. And that gives Santa Cruz an opportunity, unlike the first fight, to fight on his back foot, to throw a jab, to score points, right? To keep Carl outside, to make Carl look like he's lunging. Right? So maybe what Frampton needs to do is to figure out how to just be aggressive. Come inside, take out the taller man's body. Folks, there are actually a couple times in this fight where you see a hint of it. I thought at the start of the 8th round, right? And that's a round I want people to focus on. At the start of the 8th round, Frampton decides he's going to bully his way in. Right? Now, keep in mind, it's not like Santa Cruz is on the balls of his feet. He's not. Right? Santa Cruz is flat-footed. Santa Cruz is using length, certainly more length than he did the first fight. In other words, his jab is creating a distance between the two guys. But it's not a Vladimir Klitschko, or better yet, Vitaly Klitschko dynamic. He's not leaning back, throwing the jab. So you really can't find him. No, he's leaning forward. This is kind of like Joseph Parker, right? He's leaning forward and throwing the jab. So given that Santa Cruz is just smarter than Frampton in this fight. That's the edge he has. Right? He's just smarter in this fight. Right? His corner just has it together far more than Frampton's corner. You want to know how bad Frampton's corner is? And I understand Shane McGuigan has a reputation. You want to know how bad Frampton's corner is? You're going into the 12th round. A round Frampton absolutely has to have. And Frampton's corner tells him, hey, just stay away from him. Use your legs. No. You need to collapse the pocket. You need to go in there and hurt the guy. You need to be Badu Jack against James DeGale. You need to put the guy on his rear end, on the canvas, because you need a 2-point round. But you know the rest. The corner is giving him terrible advice. I'm hoping that the guys are talking in code. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the corner knows that the camera's going to be there, mics are going to be there. So maybe he and Frampton have worked out something where he's like, hey, use your legs. And Frampton understands that means collapse the pocket. Be on the front foot. Get inside. But let's just say Frampton's corner outthought, Frampton completely outthought. Right? How's Santa Cruz leaning forward while he throws a jab, being flat-footed, is able to tame Carl Frampton for several rounds is anyone's guess. It's even worse than that. You get to the 11th round. Frampton, out of desperation, comes out and tries to hunt down Leo Santa Cruz. As you watch the 11th round, certainly the first minute of the 11th round, you're going to think to yourself, why didn't Carl do this earlier? Right? Carl needed to get on his front foot. He couldn't wait on Santa Cruz. He needed to start working Santa Cruz's body early. He needed to get low early. Same thing in the 12th round. Right? He comes out, he's aggressive. You're looking at him and you're saying, where was this the first half of the fight? Let me say this too. I thought the Sky Sports team was brilliant. I thought Carl Froch had a great night. Right? From the very first round. I'm talking about the first minute of the fight. The bell rings, the guys start throwing. One of the very first things Carl Froch starts talking about is Leo Santa Cruz's jab. You notice Santa Cruz has gone back foot. You notice Santa Cruz is throwing a jab, keeping Carl Frampton outside. You're noticing that Frampton doesn't want to slip the jab, get inside, then stay inside. You notice you notice Frampton's actually outside getting hit with the jab. And as I said, the jab's not even that brilliant, right? Santa Cruz is leaning forward, not back. He's throwing the jab, he's flat-footed. You also notice Frampton doesn't have a lot of lateral movement. He's moving, but it's back and forth. It's not side to side. Frampton's not trying to slip the jab horizontally. Now, if Carl Froch is picking all of this up in the first round, why does it take why does it take Frampton 4 or 5 rounds to figure this out? When does the light go on for Carl Frampton, where Frampton says, you know, this guy's fighting me on his back foot? Now, if you know you're better inside than the other guy, and if you know his strategy is just to keep you outside with the jab, why wouldn't you turn it into a brawl? Now, I'll agree. Leo Santa Cruz, very talented guy. There are times where Carl Frampton, 8th round, gets Santa Cruz back up against the ropes, right? Santa Cruz's back's against the ropes. And Santa Cruz is a guy who knows how to clinch, right? Santa Cruz has inside skills. He knows how to clinch. He knows how to turn. He knows how to get from, that position where his back's up against the ropes. Also, I noticed Frampton throws combinations where he's throwing a left hook at the end of the combination. Leo Santa Cruz, to his credit, knows how to hide his head, right? He knows how to duck his head. Frampton's shots, even though Santa Cruz is the taller fighter, go over his head. Also, Santa Cruz knows how to keep his chin down so his head is parallel with his shoulder. So a lot of the shots are hitting his shoulder. Okay, that's fine. But what I don't get is why Frampton doesn't throw in more of an element of surprise. One of the guys they have on Sky Sports is David Haye. And David Haye at one point makes the comment that, Frampton is unnecessarily trading punches with Santa Cruz. Now, David Haye is an ambush fighter. He's a guy who likes to be far away from you. You remember his fight against Valiev, right? Far away where he's just turning you, not throwing that many punches. And then he likes to be deep in the pocket after he hurts you. Right? The Audley Harrison fight, the Macaronelli fight. Right? So I'm sure David Haye was wondering, why is Frampton staying within range of Santa Cruz's jab? Right? Frampton would have been better off taking a step back and just walking around Santa Cruz. Right? You don't want to have slow moments in the fight where the only action is you getting hit with the other guy's jab. How's that helping you? Let me say this too. Early in the fight, it's a little bit astonishing. Frampton gets hit with so many jabs that his eye starts to puff up. This is early in the fight. Right? So, to me, Frampton's spacing is all wrong. He's right where he shouldn't be, at the end of Leo Santa Cruz's jab. He needed to either be a little bit further outside of the jab. It would be a lower volume fight. It'd be a lower volume fight. But he would have been better off doing an ambush style where he then just jumps deep in the pocket and tries to, throw power shots. Or he should have done a Joe Frazier and just been deep in the pocket. Right? Make this a back alley brawl. Let the other guy know, look, I think I hit harder than you. I'm going to be too close to you for you to throw your jab. I've beaten you already. So I know I can handle your game deep in the pocket. But as I said, Frampton, a counterpuncher, right, needs a cushion. And it's almost as if he needed Leo Santa Cruz to throw punches before he threw punches back. Right? I want Frampton to look at Mike Tyson, Marvis Frazier. Right? Don't wait on the other guy. You know, Frampton did great in the first fight. Why? Because Leo Santa Cruz was the lead. Santa Cruz came in, was firing shots at Frampton. Frampton then was able to surgically take Leo Santa Cruz apart. Well, here, Leo Santa Cruz decided not to come in and fire shots at Frampton. He comes in with a jab and stuff. Frampton figures out, hey, I can't counter him at this distance. Get to plan B faster than you did in this fight, Carl. Right? Plan B has to be you not waiting on Leo Santa Cruz. And you need a plan to get by his jab. Right? Let me also say, too, that there's a height difference between the two. Right? Sometimes the shorter fighter has the height advantage. There are moments in this fight where Carl Frampton gets low and cannot be hit. Frampton needs more of those moments. Right? Be aggressive, just like Joe Frazier, right? Bend deep at the waist. Be aggressive. Let the taller guy understand that he has to bend down to find you. And then work on what I call leading with power shots. Right? Don't start some combination where everyone knows at the end of the combination you're going to throw a left hook. Why not lead with the left hook? Be sudden. Right? Frampton here, I still think Frampton's a better fighter. I lost on this one. Lost big on this one. Right? But Frampton here is really thoroughly outthought. Right? I thought Leo Santa Cruz much better prepared for this fight. How does a guy beat you with a jab, flat-footed, leaning forward? Right? This isn't Ali dancing around the ring, folks. Right? And let's be real here. Leo Santa Cruz's jab, it's a nice jab. It's not Carlos Monzon jab. This isn't Larry Holmes's jab. Right? It's not the kind of punch where the guy doesn't even have to throw anything else. It's not Vladimir Klitschko's jab, where the jab is really a 2x4. It's wrecking you. No, this is really a placeholder jab. And it was the difference in this fight, because it takes Frampton too long to make adjustments to it, and he couldn't pull Santa Cruz out of his construct because Frampton was reluctant to be deep in the pocket on his front foot. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Let me also say this too. Certain fighters have certain tricks. You'll notice Ray Leonard against Marvin Hagler had a clock in his head. So, with 15 seconds left in the round, Ray Leonard would let his hands go. Right? He would leave the judges with something to think about. He would want people to know that he was finishing the round strong. You know what? Leo Santa Cruz is channeling Ray Leonard. There's several rounds here where Leo Santa Cruz ends the round with a burst. Okay, the first time it happens, you say, okay, Frampton was a little bit asleep at the wheel. The second time it happens, you're saying, come on, Carl. You know the guy is going to try to finish rounds with a bang. Folks, that happens in at least 4 or 5 of the 12 rounds. So the rounds are close, and Santa Cruz is finishing strong. Also, you're noticing that Carl Frampton's getting hit with a bunch of jabs. Right? Carl's not landing his jab. Santa Cruz is landing his jab. Right? So, off night for Frampton. Right? Bad strategy night for Frampton. Bad adjustment night for Frampton. Right? It's just a bad matchup for Frampton. I believe Frampton's going to learn from this fight. But make no mistake, he lost it. I had him losing the fight by 3 or 4 rounds on my scorecard, and I actually picked Frampton to win the fight. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.